there's a lot of ways that you can get involved on things you care about that help make the community a better place. So I would highly encourage you to check out different appointments, boards and commissions, county and locally. There's so many out there, and we need to start building our bench.
Becca, Anna Webb has had her hand up for a while.
Oh yeah, I can't see. I only see the top 4 people. So
gotcha.
Go ahead, Anna.
Oh, hi there. I'm just clarifying that this would be on the ballots in the 80th Assembly District only, or the whole countywide?
Countywide. So every assembly district elects their own top 6 people, and unless they change it to 7, as far as I know, it's 6. And so everybody in like your assembly district, you would get a tailored ballot that would have all the people who applied along with all the other seats. And so like, for example, I used to be in the 78th, but redistricting put me in the 77th now. And so I will get a ballot that has all the people for 77 on it. So you'll only see on your ballot the central committee member candidates that are part of the district that you're in. It's not county-wide, and that as it's happening county-wide, but you'll only see your specific district, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. I want to add that John Laughlin wrote in the chat, and great suggestion, that Ballotopedia is another place where you can get free coverage of your race. So both Voters Edge, which does profiles of candidates, and Ballotopedia, which does profiles of candidates. And Brandon Bergman wrote in the chat that the lowest win number in 2020 was 9,500 votes. Now remember, doesn't mean you don't have to know 9,500 people. People will pick your name randomly.
This is true.
So Deborah Cunningham has her, Skernick has her hand up.
Hi there. What's interesting too is I'm in 71, which is part of Orange County. Then we jump over the Cleveland National Forest to Riverside. So each one of us will have our own AD 71, one for Orange County, one for Riverside, and the same with AD 74, which is part in Orange County and in San Diego. And what it did here in Orange County was it actually gave us 2 extra assembly districts this round.
Yep, good point.
Well, and if you live in AD 74, that means that your voter population is smaller. So theoretically, it should be easier to get elected because you only have a partial district that you're running in.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yes, and in the past, thankfully, it has finally changed. In the past, we didn't always have enough people, especially in East County, to run. We didn't even have 6, and then we'd have to fill those vacancies. So I think that's changed. I know that's changed. I've had plenty of people telling me they're already running in East County, which is exciting, and North, to act, and then there's some, again, like I said, I ran against, I think 30 people one time, so.
Any other questions for Becca?
Cool.
Oh, Danny has his hand up.
Go ahead.
Hey guys, thanks so much for doing this. This is great. I wanted to see if there's any active recruitment for like university campuses or community college campuses to get more young folks into the party.
This is where our clubs come in, guys. We do have, through our clubs is how we've been doing that. And then a lot of the times when campaigns start up, it's also when they reach out. And then we also have a couple interns from different colleges, but yes.
Yeah, I don't see the college Democrats at UCSD here today. Maybe they are, but they're very active. And thank you, Danny. It reminds me I need to reach out to them about this. And then also, of course, the San Diego County Young Dems. They've been very active in the past. They've had a campaign committee. So I hope they're going to be doing that again this year, because they raised a lot of money in the 2020 cycle. And again, I'm encouraging clubs raising money this year to think about putting it towards this. This is something where you can raise money as a club. Oftentimes for San Diego City Council and things like that, a club can't directly contribute to a race because of campaign finance limits. But Central Committee does not have campaign finance limits. So in the case of San Diego City, for example, organizations cannot directly contribute to a candidate. But for Central Committee, you can. So, this is a great opportunity for clubs again to get involved. Amira Sadre has her hand up, and I hope I said your last name correctly.
That's fine. In the past, we have been in a club, I guess, for like 20 some years now. And we have reached out to the clubs at the universities to join us, and we haven't had very much luck with them. I'm not exactly sure why. Even we are the Iranian American Democrats, and we try to reach out to the Persian Club in UCSD and a few others, and San Diego State, and we didn't have much luck to get the youth into our group to take over. Just additional information, FYI.
Yeah, that's because of the nature of students cruising through and then graduating, or even just moving to different areas throughout their college career. It's a transient group. It's like chasing the little cat laser. It's a moving target. But
Yes.
I appreciate and would encourage you guys to continue to reach out, both to the college clubs and even to the high school Democratic clubs, a lot, which kind of have COVID kind of dealt a blow to a lot of clubs that were, meeting or even meeting on campus, this, that, the other. But now that it's kind of died down, knock on wood, I would like to see it get started up again. I see Rob. I also see Suzanne.
Yeah, when working with the campuses, I see a lot of people really focus on the students. You should focus on the advisor, because they're usually there and don't have that turnover. And then you get a better relationship through the advisor, because the students change every year.
Yeah, that's a good point. Make nice with
Great.
the advisors.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Rob.
Or certain professors will let you come speak.
Suzanne?
Anybody else? Suzanne, is there a question about? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
You're on mute, Suzanne.
I think you're muted.
Okay, sorry about that. Our club has been getting young voters in. Our club, East County Democratic Club, is getting some young people in. And what we've been doing, and it was like a magnet, it really has helped a lot, is making sure that our club meeting topics are germane to the young voters. And people just come to those meetings when they know, we advertise it, obviously. And we've been successful. We've got some club members now who are younger.
Awesome. I love hearing that we're bringing new people in, or voter registration efforts. We really need to be doing that year round. I know I'm preaching to the choir. And
So
any more questions regarding how to run, or tips for running?
Deb, your hand is
Social
still up.
committee?
Is that from the last round? Okay. Is Danny, your hand is still up? Is that from before?
Yeah, I just wanted to put a quick plug. The reason I asked was because I have put together a coordinated effort with the campuses to talk to different professors on campus. As a student at San Diego State, I have access to the different professors that are allowing members to come to their classrooms and do these announcements. So if any of the other club members would like to come to these campuses, because I can't do this alone. It's going to take a coordinated effort, as you said, for both advisors and students. So if you would like access to these, my lists of professors that will allow volunteers to come in and actively recruit, please feel free to email me. I'll put my email in the chat.
Great. Thank you. That
Awesome.
is huge. So any other questions for Becca or comments that you'd like to share about running for Central Committee? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Becca, for being here with us today. We're always glad to have you. Becca is the chair of the San Diego County Democratic Party, and she publicly won twice on the public ballot. So she's the expert in the success story.
Go
And we really
volunteer on a
appreciate it.
campaign. I'm
There
telling
you
you.
go. So, yeah. One thing I want to add is these dates. I just want to, we think of the election as being in 2024. You pull your papers starting November 13th. The deadline to submit is December 8th. And even in 2024, March 5th is not the election. People start voting. The mail ballots go out on February 5th. So start thinking about this now. February 5th, how soon is that? So if you're thinking about running for Central Committee, start thinking now. Start thinking of who you can tag team with for getting your, what other club members, ideally, might want to do it. Recruiting other club members who might want to do it so that you can walk together, so that you can campaign together, so that you can get your nominations together. I mean, start making those connections now. And this is part of the reason I've been really encouraging clubs to work together, because when it comes time for electoral efforts, either for Central Committee or for candidates, being able to do joint things is going to make us a lot better. Because maybe, you know, Blue Dreams can only get 3 or 4 people to event. Well, if I'm working with 3 other clubs that get 3 or 4 people, all of a sudden we have a crowd of 15. So, you know, I just wanted to make those dates really clear. And yeah, if there's no other comments or questions, we will be moving on to the next item on the agenda. So thank you very much, Becca.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay. Upcoming proposed changes to the San Diego County Democratic Party bylaws regarding club policy. So this is the part where we're going to have some votes. So what we're voting on today are our recommendations to the admin committee. Our body, the Council of Clubs, does not have a direct vote at Central Committee, but I've asked that when there is a proposed change to the bylaws that affects clubs, that we discuss them here first and give our recommendation before the admin committee votes on them. So the first proposal, which seems to me very straightforward, is moving the Director of Clubs election date from November to January. When I was elected Director of Clubs, I actually promoted this. This is something that I personally wanted. And the reason was our election for Director of Council of Clubs was 5 days after the general election. I was tired. You were all tired. None of us wanted to be at a Council of Clubs meeting, at least I'm speaking for myself, possibly projecting, 5 days after election day, because I had been working Monday and Tuesday on this election, and then 5 days later to have a major election for Council of Clubs. And it also, as a candidate, was, you know, I felt guilty speaking about running for Director of Clubs when I should be out there promoting candidates. Here I was making calls for this body, and mind you, it's because I think this body is so important, instead of making calls for the offices of the people that were running. And again, in my mind, this was long-term. If we can get our clubs better, if we can become more powerful as a group, have a bigger voice of the community, to me, I was prioritizing that over, in some cases, people that were on the ballot in 2022. But I don't want to make that choice. And I don't want anyone to have to make that choice in the future. So this proposal from Ross Pike, president of the Fallbrook Democratic Club, would move our Director of Club election date from November to January, so that we would not be thinking about Council of Clubs election when we should be out there campaigning for candidates. So I think we have John Laughlin on the call. John, you know a little more of the history here. Why was it November? And is there any reason why it shouldn't be January?
Hey, Cynara, yeah. Well, to take the second question first, yeah, I think January is preferable, because the other strange thing with the way the bylaws are currently constructed is that if you're continuing a second term as the Director of Clubs, for example, you don't get to vote in the January meeting when they elect the chair. But if you're stepping away from the committee and you're not running, you do, which is kind of the wrong way around. So yeah, by putting the election afterwards, it means the outgoing Director of Clubs would still get to vote. Somebody who's been involved for 2 years in the party, you know, gets to help have an opinion. So that would seem to be kind of fairer. And I think the reason originally for November, I think if you go back further, it was in December at the end of the year. And the idea was the clubs had to have picked the, you know, the whoever they designated as the incoming Director of Clubs before the January reorganization meeting. So it used to happen right at the end of the year, the last meeting, but then the December meeting for the Council of Clubs would often not happen. And it also made it harder for staff and things to get it organized. So they moved it back to November. And I think when they moved a lot of other reorganizations for club chartering and everything to November for the same reason. So that staff over the holiday, the December holiday, didn't have to do as much admin work. But as you say, what they didn't take into account was the fact that it then collides with the election time.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you see any disadvantage to moving it to January? John, as someone who's been involved and helped write some of these bylaws?
No, I think it makes more sense. There'll be more involvement. Normally people are more fired up, more
Exactly.
excited, more involved in January. It's a new year, a new look and everything. And as you say, coming at the end of the other year, you probably don't get as much involvement. So yeah, so I think it's preferable to move it back.
Yeah. Okay, sounds great. So with that in mind, would anyone like to make a motion to support this? And also, I think we need to have a vote of only people who are representing a club. So I see a few people here that I don't have as representing a club. You know, it help me out with policies and procedures here. I don't think this is going to be controversial. If we just do by acclamation, I don't think it matters that we have people in the room, because I'm just going to say, if someone is willing to make the motion, is anyone opposed to this? Because I haven't heard any opposition. So would anyone like to speak in opposition to this motion and in opposition to this proposed bylaw amendment?
Don't you need a motion on the floor?
Okay. Can someone put a motion on the floor, please?
Yes, I make the motion that we move the election of Director of Clubs to January.
Okay, and remember, this again is our recommendation. We don't get the final say on that, but yes.
Second.
Okay, would someone like to
Excuse
second
me.
that? Mhm.
Sorry, it's Diana. I'm taking notes here. That was Danny.
That was Danny, yes.
Thank you. And if you can say your name, whoever seconds.
Robinson, second.
Okay, with that in mind, can I call a vote by acclamation? Or I'm sorry, for discussion, was anyone opposed to this motion? Is there any opposition? Would anyone like to speak in opposition?
Here, Kevin Lorenz.
Okay, you'd like to speak in opposition?
No, I would just ask for an amendment that, well, I guess a quick point of clarification is this every 1 or 2 years, this election?
2 years. 2 years. It's every 2 years. So it'd be in 2024 is the next one.
And that,
Wait a second.
right. So it's the same January as ADEMS, basically.
Yes, that is correct.
Right. I'm so someone who has organized in ADEMS for a while. I think it's rather terrible to have to organize across the holiday season. And I do think this is just one more race that would have to be organized for across the holiday season, which, as we just heard, is the reason why a lot of things were moved to November in the first place. I'm not in opposition to the motion, but I would ask for an amendment that support for this proposal be passed with, I guess, a note or an addendum or something like that. That amending this proposal to be on opposite Januaries as to ADEMS, so that each January is alternating between ADEMS and this race in terms of scheduling. That would be my ask for the maker of the motion to amend into their motion.
So I'm trying to figure this out. I was elected in 2022 in November. So it would be on ADEM schedule because it wouldn't be 2024. It would be 2025 when this comes up again, January 2025, if this moves forward. How would that affect it? Would we then have an election in January 2024 instead? Which would mean I'd be with you all either 1 year less or 1 year more. I'm not sure I'm ready to commit to 1 year more. I'm not sure I'm ready to give up with 1 year less.
It wouldn't really be another year more, it'd only be an extra 2 months more. Correct? So if you got elected in November of 2022, then your term would come up January 2025, which is only 2 months, 2 months longer than it would have been.
Right, but that is on the ADEM schedule. That is
It is.
exactly the ADEM
Gotcha.
schedule.
Okay.
So that's my point, is to move it off the ADEM schedule would change the tenure of the current term, which, you know, I'm not sure I I was hoping to see you all through the election, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to handle one more year after that. So, I mean, we could always call a special election, I suppose, to do that, to do one more year. I had signed up for this for one term. We'll see the second when we get there.
I could also add to my ask for amendment to, I guess, Danny. I could also add that maybe this take effect after the end of the current term. Right, so like this proposal, along with taking director of clubs off the ADEM schedule and alternating Januaries.
So then it would be before the election, though. And I'm a little bit concerned about that. So the whole idea is director of clubs stays director of clubs for the same schedule as the election, which makes sense to me. So my goal with the clubs is to have us have as much impact on the elections as possible. And if I'm starting or someone else is starting, again, I'm not necessarily looking to do this more than one term. Whoever is the ADEM person, if they start during an election year, they won't have the buildup. So as we just saw with Central Committee membership, you know, people are starting to run now, and then they're going to, it would be in the middle of people running for office for Central Committee that this would change, and for other offices, mind you, and that's the whole idea. So people would be in the middle of campaigning in the primary, and the director of clubs would change. And again, kind of to me, the whole goal with the clubs is that we're supposed to be supporting these elections and supporting candidates. So having our leadership change in the middle of an election cycle, to me, I have some real concerns with that, right? Because my whole goal, what I'm driving for with every club here, is for us to have maximum impact in the 2024 elections. And if we have a director of clubs election during that election cycle, who's leading those efforts from a club perspective could change. So I appreciate your amendment, Kevin, but I'm going to push back on it, because to me, it's all about getting the clubs engaged in that electoral cycle. And I wouldn't want to change the leadership of that during an electoral cycle.
Sure, that all makes sense. And I'm okay with pulling my amendment. My concern was more about having this election overlap with another that I know for a fact is really difficult to organize for over the holiday season. And with that said, I will pull my amendment.
This is a point of order. There's no amendment. There's no second on that.
No, not so far. Well, and I don't even know, no offense, Kevin, if you can make it, because Brandon is here representing the club. So you're here as a guest, but I was willing to, you know, entertain the discussion. So we have Danny and Hugh, both have your hands up.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the amendment. And I support the intention. I think it's clear. My only thing is, what is the schedule for ADEM? Is the convention or the election at the beginning of January? Because our meetings are towards the end of the month. So, and then on top of that, my only concern was also like, this is a local thing versus the statewide thing, which is two different things. So.
Kevin, your hand is raised.
Oh, no. So no, I was just asking for the maker of the motion to amend the motion, which as, right. That was it.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm okay with polling, if I'm even capable of that, as Cynara said, then that's, yeah, I just pull my ask for amendment.
Okay, that's fine. Now, we have two past director of clubs here with us, and John has spoken. Cody, if you're willing to be recognized, if you're interested, I'm happy to give you the floor of what you think of this as someone who's ran for director of clubs in November. What do you think of the proposal moving to January? If I mean, you can tell me.
Yeah, I hopped on a little late, so I didn't hear what Kevin's original amendment was. Are we still, it seemed like there was discussion about having it every year, or are we still looking at every 2 years?
We're still looking at every 2 years. The proposed amendment, which appears, which the maker of the motion did not adopt, and I did not support, was to move it on to the schedule opposite of ADEMS, but that would mean that we'd have a director of club election on election years in January. And I thought it probably wouldn't be good to change club leadership midstream during an election cycle. So it's better to keep it on what is the same as the ADEM schedule, which means instead of November, instead of immediately coming after an election 5 days later having vote for director of clubs, because that was stupid and crazy, we would instead be doing it in January.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think that January makes more sense because it aligns with all of the other party positions being elected. And yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, I was a little busy doing GOTV, and then to have to turn around and deal with the director of clubs election in November was a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I would fully support moving it to January.
Good. So Kevin, your hand is still raised. Do you have anything else you'd like to opine?
No.
Okay, great. Okay, so Greg has made a motion. Has someone seconded it? Anyone like to second this motion to move it from?
I think I made the
Hold
motion
on,
and Greg
Dan
seconded
made
it.
the yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
Danny made the motion, Greg seconded.
Perfect. Okay, I got a little confused there. Okay, I'm then, if there is no further discussion, I'm going to call for a vote. And basically, if anyone is opposed, please say opposed or say nay. Please voice your opposition. Okay, Michelle, your hand is raised. Are you opposing this motion?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm only asking that I came on late, and I'm at the Juneteenth festival. Can you just say exactly what the motion is?
The motion is to move the director of club election date from November to January so that it coincides with the other elections for.
Okay, I'm totally in support. That's fine.
Okay, great. Okay, wonderful. Then hearing no opposition, we are making our recommendation to the admin committee and to the central committee as a whole that they adopt this bylaw change. So thank you very much to Russ Pike for bringing this forward. He couldn't be here today, but we chatted before the meeting and he still fully supports it. Okay, the next bylaw amendment that we're considering is to move restrictions on clubs holding joint endorsement meetings from the bylaws to the policies and procedure. Now, a little background on this. The reason for the current bylaw is that we had situations where, the current prohibition on joint club endorsements is to prevent clubs with large membership from creating multiple clubs that meet jointly for the purposes of gaining more votes at the area caucus of the central committee. So there had been a situation where a rather large club became multiple smaller clubs, but they met together, voted together, really didn't meet the full definition of individual clubs. So there was a prohibition put in the bylaws that clubs have to meet separately and vote on endorsement votes separately. Because if you do everything together, you're not truly separate clubs. Why would we want to change that? Well, the Supervisor District 4 endorsement rush was a really good example of when clubs might want to hold a joint endorsement meeting. Our original idea with doing that joint club forum was that clubs would get to break out into individual rooms to hold their endorsement meeting. They'd still need to have a presiding officer of the club present. They'd still need to have quorum, but in a breakout room, they could do their club, vote. Unfortunately, the way the bylaws are currently written, for all endorsement votes, they have to meet individually, and separate breakout rooms did not meet the criteria of individually. So in a case of something like the Supervisor District 4, where everyone is on a super tight time frame, it's very hard to schedule. It was hard for all these clubs to schedule their meeting. And in fact, some clubs failed and were disenfranchised because they weren't able to do notification in time, because they weren't able to schedule a meeting in time. We could help eliminate that by allowing us to hold a joint meeting and then allowing clubs to do breakout rooms. They would still need to notify their members separately. You'd still need to have a presiding officer. You'd still need to have quorum of your club, but we could do it in the same space. And whether that's a virtual space via Zoom or an actual physical space, clubs could meet in the same space. Now, another example of when clubs may want to have a joint meeting would be an endorsement-orama. So I know that Dems for Equality and some other clubs in the past had talked about getting together to do a joint meeting for judges, because judges run countywide. They have to go to so many clubs and they have zero budget. And, we want to have good endorsements of judges. So it would have been easier for some of those really down ticket races to have a number of clubs meet together in one place and have breakout rooms where they could vote, just like the breakout rooms I described for D4. So there are certainly cases, valid cases, where clubs may want to hold a joint endorsement consideration. Not every time, not as one club that is splitting themselves, but actual clubs getting together for a joint endorsement consideration. Unfortunately, we couldn't do that with District 4 because if something is in the bylaws, we can't waive it. If it's in the policies and procedures, it can be waived. So that's the background on this proposal. So the current bylaw says, for clubs or coalition, the club or coalition shall meet individually at least once quarterly and for all endorsement votes. Meeting dates, times, and locations shall be provided to the SDCDP at least 14 days prior to the meeting for publication on the SDCDP website. A copy of the notice, agenda, and minutes for the business meetings or endorsement meetings shall be supplied by email to the director of clubs and the SDCDP. So that is the current bylaw. Here is the proposed revision, and we can debate this and talk about if there's a better way to do this, but the proposed revision that we came up with was that the original text, club or coalition shall meet individually at least once per quarter, does not say for all endorsement votes. We take that out. Instead, in the bylaws, we add club endorsement votes shall be conducted individually and presided over by an officer of the club. Meaning endorsement meeting dates, times, and locations shall be provided to the club membership and SDCDP 14 days in advance prior to the meeting for publication, and on the website. A copy of the notice, agenda, and the business minutes for the meetings or endorsement shall be supplied by email to the director of clubs and the SDCDP. So what are we doing here? We no longer have the word clubs endorsement votes still need to be individual, but not an individual meeting. It can be a joint meeting and they could be in a breakout room. So this is the idea, is to simply take this section, which includes all endorsement votes, for having an individual meeting, to the endorsement vote shall be conducted individually, not necessarily an individual meeting, and be presided over by the officer of the clubs. So then in the policies and procedures, we still say clubs shall meet individually for all endorsement considerations, unless otherwise granted permission to hold a joint meeting by the executive board. So what does that mean? That means we would still, in most cases, have the exact same effective laws we did before, which is to say endorsement votes are held individually at individual meetings. However, a club can petition, or a group of clubs, or the council of clubs, can petition the e-board of the Democratic Party and say, hey, we're doing this endorsement-orama for judges, or we're doing this joint candidate consideration for Supervisor District 4, and we'd like permission to hold it together. This is how we plan to do it. This is how we plan to meet the other bylaws requirements. Will you grant us permission in this case? And at least the current e-board, I see no reason why they would not. If the e-board could have granted us permission to do a joint candidates forum and endorsement consideration for Supervisor District 4, they would have, but they didn't have the ability to do so. So that is the proposal on the table. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to entertain discussion on this motion. Or maybe I should still hold it up there so people can see it, but I'm going to entertain discussion on the motion. So would anyone like to speak about this proposal? Why is this not working? Oops, I'm failing. Zoom fail. Okay, Greg, your hand is raised.
Yeah, I just have a question. This seems like a good idea to me, and it does seem like it does continue to protect us from that manipulation that happened before. But has this been cleared by legal staff along these lines to make sure we are protecting ourselves from that manipulation in the future? Because it appears that way to me. I just want to make sure that people like, Ricardo Ochoa has looked at this and feels comfortable that this really will protect us from the manipulation.
Well, he is on the admin committee, and the admin committee will receive this next. So, I mean, what we are doing is we're putting proposal to the admin committee with our intent. And if our language here, the language that's proposed is not clear, and you're probably right, Greg, I probably should have ran this by him last night now that you say it. But if the language here does not meet that intent, they will modify it to meet that intent. So yeah, we probably, now that you say that, probably would have been a good idea to have him look at it in advance, but we have spoken about the concept. I've spoke with Doug and with John and others about this, and the club development committee has met on this. But yeah, the next up is the admin committee, who will look at this proposed language and make any modifications needed to make it legally compliant.
In that case, that does sound like a good idea to me.
Okay. So Danny, your hand is raised.
I just wanted to see if anyone had made the motion. I don't believe anyone had made the motion, or if we need one, but if we need one, I'm happy to move that we recommend this proposal.
And Suzanne?
No motion has been made.
Okay, Suzanne, your hand is raised.
Yes, this is an amendment to the proposed language. It says club endorsement votes shall, etc. It should say club or coalition.
Oh, yeah.
It has to say what this is about, and it doesn't say what this is about.
Okay. So what do you mean doesn't say what it's about? I'm happy to add the word coalition here, but I'm not sure how it doesn't say that what this is about.
It's not clear that this is a joint vote.
Well, it isn't a joint vote. It will never be a joint vote. Clubs still will need to have.
I understand that, but I mean, it's a joint meeting.
Yes, it's a joint meeting. And the way it's currently worded is simply by omission. It allows for a joint meeting, because we're not saying you can't have a joint meeting, so therefore you can. Here it does say in the policies, we are saying that the policy is you cannot have a joint meeting, but that can be waived. Because again, the idea isn't to do with this all the time. There's just some very specific instances where it makes sense.
Well, maybe to start the wordage, just say for joint meetings.
Okay.
This applies.
Well, it's also for individual meetings this applies. Either way, the endorsement vote will be conducted individually and presided over by an officer of the clubs, regardless of whether the meeting is joint or the meeting is individual.
Okay, but that needs to be said.
Okay. So, okay.
Doesn't the very last sentence cover that?
That's what I have. That's how I had, yes.
It just needs to be moved up front.
It is, well, the problem is this is in policies and procedures and this is in bylaws. So they are separate.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're taking the specification out of bylaws and putting in policies and procedures.
Okay. Well, still need the coalition in there.
Yes, that's been added. Okay, Anna?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, the difference between, maybe I'm Captain Obvious here, but like, for example, we've gotten together with Coronado Club twice and had forums. Like one was a judicial forum and one was for the supervisor candidates for D1. And it wasn't, that's not a meeting, that's a forum, that you go together. It becomes a meeting if you call for it to be in a meeting ahead of time, as it's going to be an endorsement meeting. So, to me, the language looks pretty clear. And I do think, which was my concern, I do think it's pretty tight, that I don't think there's any loopholes in there that I can see, especially because they would have to get permission from the executive board. So I would second the motion if it's time to do that.
Okay, I think it's time to do that. Would anyone like to speak in opposition to the motion? Or does anyone have any further concerns that we want to address with this? Danny, I see your hand is raised. Okay, hand is lowered. Anyone in opposition or any further concerns? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and once again do this by acclamation. If there is anyone opposed, please say nay or indicate
Hold
your
on,
opposition.
Cynara, I didn't
Yes?
hear who made the motion. Was the motion made?
Danny made the
Okay.
motion and it was seconded by
Anna?
Anna.
Got it. I wasn't sure if that was official. Thank you.
Okay, well, calling for any opposition. Going once. Going twice. Seeing no opposition, we are recommending this to the admin committee. Great, that will be considered at their hopefully July meeting. Okay, great. So I wanted to, next we're going to talk about the endorsement considerations by the San Diego County Democratic Party regional caucuses. This is what we're voting on now as clubs that are regional caucuses. Upcoming in a few minutes will be the consideration of endorsement recommendation at the North Coastal Caucus for Fallbrook Union High School District. I reached out to Vanessa. She said there's one candidate. I did not get a chance to list that candidate's name here, but there's a single candidate they're voting on. So therefore your vote is not bound, and the clubs can vote as they like. That is this afternoon. July 10th, the South Area Caucus will be considering a friendly incumbent recommendation for School Board, San Diego Unified School Board District E, Sharon Whitehurst Payne. We also have no competition at this time, and so your vote is not bound. That means the associate can vote as they like. And then the Chula Vista City Attorney Special Election Consideration. That is on the calendar currently for July 10th, but we do not yet have any candidates declared. If no candidates have declared by July 10th, this consideration will be moved. And I may actually petition Sarah at this point to move that consideration if candidates do, even if candidates do appear, because clubs won't have time at this point to interview the candidate. That said, this is a special election coming up this November, so time is kind of the essence here. So these are the only upcoming endorsement considerations that I'm currently aware of. All of the endorsement considerations can be found here under the timeline, and this is updated between meetings. So please feel free to reference that. And I will also try to let clubs know in the area where the endorsement consideration is coming up, when endorsement consideration is coming up. Okay, recommend a speaker. Now, we had some cool speaker recommendations this since our last meeting, and I wanted to speak to them. So Nadia, you had recommended some great people for LGBTQ issues and entered them directly in our speaker suggestions. So would you mind taking a second and telling us about these great speakers that you've had and why you would recommend them? Nadia is available. Is Nadia available? Is she still on? I saw her on earlier. Okay, well, I'm not seeing her at this moment, or if she is on mute. Oh, she has dropped off. Okay. So she's recommended some wonderful speakers on LGBTQ issues. Obviously, this is top for a lot of people right now because of the attacks that's happening on our LGBT community. She has also recommended Edward Lopez for issues related to SDG&E. And I think that's, that's something that's in a lot of people's mind as well as energy prices continue to go up. And so he's working to push back on rate increases at SDG&E in places. So that's Edward Lopez. Additionally, I've recommended Amy Tobia, who does campaign finance reform. Specifically, she does ranked choice voting, and she does public financing of campaigns for an organization, a local organization called Represent Us San Diego. So I would highly recommend Amy Tobia as a speaker for your club. I know the San Marcos Democratic Club recently had her speak and they raved about it. So with that in mind, is there any other recommendations for speakers that anyone has that they'd like to share? Anyone else want to recommend a speaker that we think that our clubs would benefit from having come and talk? Okay, I'm not seeing.
Hi, this is Elise Pipkin Allen.
Yes, go for it.
I'd like to recommend Mitch Mitchell. He's the VP at San Diego Gas and Electric Company.
Oh, that's a very good idea. Yeah, since we're having people come speak about that, we can ask him our questions directly about why do gas prices keep going up?
I think so.
Mitchell, okay, wonderful. I may follow up with you to get his contact info as well so that we can put it in our list. Okay, John, your hand is raised. John Laughlin.
Yeah, I was going to say Dr. Rodney Hood came and spoke to the Point Loma Democratic Club about disparities in healthcare, especially for Black community, and he was fabulous. He also spoke, I think, to La Mesa Foothills. Both of them are online, I think, on the YouTube sites for both clubs. But he was easily one of the most powerful speakers the club has ever had.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, I heard him speak at the La Mesa Club. He was excellent. Anna?
Well, along the lines of SDG&E, I wanted to put this out there. I sit on the San Diego Community Power, which is it's a startup. It's been around, they've been working for 5 years, but they are the aggregate that purchases the green renewable energy and sells it to SDG&E, which rides across their grid. In our groups, we've got the cities that are participatory, and I would say if your club falls in one of these jurisdictions, to reach out to your community advisory representative from your community and have them come and speak to your club. We have Imperial Beach, Chula Vista. That's where Ed Lopez used to sit on the community advisory committee, but no longer. Chula Vista, La Mesa. We also have Encinitas and San Diego. Now we've added National City and unincorporated San Diego County. So we're the second largest CCA in the state and the country. So this is really powerful, pun intended. And I would definitely, I can send you a link to their website and to the CAC members. It'll list who's in your community, and you could reach out to them or staff, but for that reason, matter to come out and speak to your club and your city council, because we do fight for lower rates.
Yes, we do. So Chi-Wu, would you like to speak next?
Yes, I'd like to invite someone from Students for DEI organization. I'm not sure everybody familiar with that. Our club has been working with them to fight to make sure DEI will be included in school curriculum. Also, we are working with them to make sure we can fly the pride flag in local school.
Okay, so what was the name of this group again? I had not yet.
This is school called Students for DEI.
For DEI, wonderful. Okay, well, Justin, who's Domicello, who's a member of Club Development, gave a presentation on that last month. I don't know if he's plugged in with Students for DEI, but we certainly should try to make that connection. There's someone else that I need to recommend, and thank you very much, Anna. Well, I'm hoping to have them speak at our next Council of Clubs meeting. It's Cheetah Warren Darby. She's the Director of Office of Boards and Commissions for the city for Mayor Todd Gloria. And I ran into her, I met her for the first time at the Democratic Convention, and she said she would love to speak to clubs on how to join boards and commissions in the city of San Diego. So I'm going to put her out there as a speaker. I'm going to add her information to our speaker list and make sure to send that to you, because she's happy to come speak. And as Becca Taylor said, our chair of the party, joining a board and commission is a great way to get exposure to local government. It's a great way to participate at a local level. It gives you a great ballot designation when you run for central committee, which really shouldn't be the reason to do it, but you know, just one more little plus. So we really want you to get involved in boards and commissions, so and your club members. So I'm going to just give a quick shout out to for Cheetah Warren Darby, Director of the Office of Boards and Commissions.
It's Chida.
Chida, yes. And Griselda just said, I can also talk about county boards and commissions if needed. Yes, yes, Griselda. So are you kind of, if you're online, Griselda, if you wouldn't mind speaking, are you kind of the point person for boards and commissions at the county, or what's your role there? Because that's also super important. We're not all in the city of San Diego. So I don't know if you're on mute, Griselda.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute it. I am the person in this District 1 office that oversees the boards and commissions for our district.
Awesome.
But I also have the counterparts, and I could let folks know like about the process and how to do it and how many boards and commissions there is at the county, because there is over 100.
Exactly, exactly. And so many of our clubs are in unincorporated, are, you know, in places. So yeah. So yes, that would be wonderful. I saw that the Latina Democratic Club had recently a great meeting on boards and commissions, and I wasn't able to attend. So I was sorry I missed that, but I'll try to make your presentation at any other board and commission. So, okay, great. Anyone else like to speak about speakers? And Danny, announcements are coming up, and I'm happy to have you announce then. So
I can't raise my hand anymore, but I would like to speak.
Oh, that's fine. Speak away.
Yeah, Ellen Nash, who is the chair of the County of San Diego's Leon Williams Human Relation Commission. I'd like to nominate her, yeah.
Human Relation Commission. And also Andrea Beth Damsky is on the Human Relations State Commission, I believe, and she's asked to speak about stopping hate speech at our next meeting. So perhaps her and Ellen would be good joint speakers for that, to both speak at the state level and the county level.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, great. Well, glad we had that discussion. But club best practices. We'll do club best practices first, and then I'm going to return to our KDEM regional directors, because I believe they're both now on the line. So one thing that came up as we were doing the D4 recommendations is I was trying to help people set up their ballots and get ballots ready. And the question was ranked choice voting software, because when you're sending the ballot out by email, you don't have the option of doing multiple rounds the way we do with Zoom, where we do multiple elimination rounds. So how can you not split the vote? Well, the answer is ranked choice. So there's a few ranked choice voting softwares that are available. And I spoke to John Laughlin about this, who's done more investigation of them than I have. So John, do you mind just taking a moment and speaking about some of the different ranked choice voting softwares that are available and how people can use them?
Yeah, no, happy to. And I think if Cody is still on as well, she probably has others to add. But the first link on the slide is a wonderful link that has lots of different bits of software on there. So that's worth checking out. And I can't pretend to have tried all of them, right? But many of the ones on here, like the first one, Rank Vote, is really simple to set up, configure, and use. Very attractive. Some of them are free, some of them have charges. But right, there's some things that I would just caution people to look at, depending on whatever method you use. So one of them, for example, is the party itself uses Google Sheets when they're doing votes at areas. And Google Sheets is like a survey tool. You pop up a question for somebody, they pick an option, or they you know, whatever order they want to put things in. But votes at the party level are public, right? So everybody knows how everybody votes. But for clubs, very often we want to run like a private or secret ballot. We don't want to share that with everybody. But you want to be able to have, obviously somebody needs to tally the votes, and the campaigns as well. Back in the old world, where we had physical bits of paper and things, you'd often ask a representative from each campaign would be in the room when you counted ballots to make sure that they were counted fairly, you know, put in the right piles. And so the question is, how do you use software that both maintains the privacy for the voter, but also enables you to double check that they were voted correctly? And there's fewer tools that'll do both of those, right? So if you use like a Google Sheet, even if you just have one person tally it, they potentially know how everybody in your club voted. If you then bring in the campaigns, they too know how everybody voted. And not all clubs want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think going back to the other slide, Cynara, or the main slide you had, there's three tools that I have used with different organizations, both within the party and outside. And they vary in complexity or ease of setup. But the top one, limesurvey.org, the Women's Club in Point Loma have used, and I think Phil Courier's from Torrey Pines, I think you've used it, and a few other clubs have used it as well. But basically, it's a survey tool that enables you to have, you know, privacy for the voter, but still you can see whether the voter's vote was recorded.
Yeah.
Okay, and then with OpenVote, same thing, and RCV 123. So they all provide that facility, but they just give you a little bit more power and ease of setting it up. So Lime Survey will send out a ballot to everybody. They click a link, they can vote. You can then send out a reminder easily to people who have not yet voted. And if in the meeting people come to a Zoom or physical meeting and they didn't get their ballot because it went to spam or they couldn't find it, you can get the individualized link and send it to them across the chat on Zoom, or pop up a page on a device in the room, and they on mobile devices, and they can vote. Mm-hmm. Right, their personalized link. So it's probably the most powerful, but it costs money. If you ran like it for a month, it's $36 if you had 1,000 respondents. OPO vote is simpler, but they charge per ballot.
Mm-hmm.
If you're having multiple small ballots, it'll cost you more. If you're doing one big, endorsement thing, it'll be cheaper. And then RCV is free, but it doesn't do the automatic emailing for you. So it'll generate all those personalized links, but then you have to email those out to people. So it's one more step for people to do.
Well, and I will say in my experience, I started with OpenVote, but that cost money. So I looked at RCV 123, and it just wasn't it was kind of, I don't know, I found it clunky. So I wound up at Ranked Vote, and through Fair Vote, it is free. It's not really free. There's some sort of prescription model here, but because I went through Fair Vote, they gave it to me for free, and I used it when we were deciding the questions to ask for the forum. Our club dev group used it, and I'm going to use it again today, later on today, and we're going to be talking about our topics for a breakout session. So Cody Vieira, your hand is up. You are recognized.
Yeah, I was also going to add, I haven't tested it yet, but my understanding is that Zoom has now added advanced polling, which includes a ranked choice option. Yeah, so, but you need to actually go into the Zoom web portal and then enable the advanced polling, which adds different options, ranked choice, short answer, matching, and other things. Again, I haven't tested it yet, but if anyone, is interested, there's info about that online.
That is awesome. That would be pretty amazing, because, what I wind up doing at the Blue Dreams is, and I do this for Lavos as well, because I do the technology there, is I find myself doing it on the fly, making the next round of Zoom poll and the next round of Zoom poll. And if you don't have somebody that can quickly make those, it's hard to do elimination rounds on Zoom. So I was planning on using Ranked Vote going forward, but if Zoom can handle it, well, let's keep it in-house. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to check that out. Suzanne?
Yeah, our club recently had a vote, and I was worried about getting it right, so we actually had a quick meeting. It was all on Zoom, and we had a quick meeting of my board to test it out, and it tested out perfectly, but came to the meeting and it wouldn't load.
Oh, which software was
so-
that?
Huh?
Which software was that?
Zoom.
Oh.
The Zoom polling thing, it wouldn't load.
Oh.
And so we were forced to do a hands raised vote, which was okay, but
yeah,
we had really set up a really nice, it looked good. It was easy to use, you know, with Zoom and all that. Okay, that's it.
Okay. So,
I
Cody?
want one of those.
Oh, Michelle, you've unmuted yourself again. Okay. Michelle, your hand is raised. Would you like to speak?
Yeah, I thought I had kept it muted until I was ready. Just be cautious that anything other than the Zoom polling is often difficult for someone like me, someone who's blind, someone who has any difficulty with physically managing the ranked choice, or the other one is to just, if they're just on a telephone, a flip phone or a landline, it makes it very difficult. Now a Zoom, for me, the Zoom poll is something I can independently do because it's just a matter of touching the button. But the others have to often be put in the chat or sent to an email. So just be aware that you know, that it's challenging for some people.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, that's why I prefer using Zoom polls if I can, is because they are, you know, they are built in, and it will pop up for people instead of people having to find the link. So if there is a ranked choice option there, happy to explore it. Now, the only thing with the Zoom poll is it has to happen during the meeting. So for example, we're going to be talking today about our upcoming club summit and topics people would like to see. I'm going to send that out in an email. So again, I'm probably going to be using ranked vote and asking people to rank the topics that they find most interesting or important to them. So you'll all get a chance to try some ranked choice voting software coming soon. Okay, new business. First of all, we have this whole section on how important it is to get club representation on Central Committee and how you can run for Central Committee on the 2024 ballot. Well, there are other ways to get on Central Committee besides the 2024 ballot. Specifically, when there is a vacancy, you can run. So the San Diego County Democratic Party has currently a vacancy in the 80th Assembly District. And there is going to be election held via Zoom for that seat coming up in when is this? June. It's going to be coming up in 10 days. It's going to be to fill the seat previously held by Representative Fletcher. So I'm trying to copy and paste from the chat the actual details. I just got from Vice Chair Ochoa the link for that. So I'm trying to copy and paste. Maybe it won't allow me to. I'm going to send it out in email. But for anyone in the 80th, this is going to be an internal election. That means it's going to be held just the people in the room. And if you want to run in that, you have to be a member of the old 80th Assembly District, not the current 80th Assembly, but the old 80th Assembly District. So I'll put an email to all the clubs that are geographically located where the old 80th Assembly District was, which is to say it's farther to east than the 80th Assembly is today, I believe. I believe it's not coastal, it's east-south county. And it'll be via Zoom. And I encourage everyone to run. And the reason is you will not split votes with your friend. If the two of you both want to run for this assembly seat and you're worried about splitting votes, it's going to be done by elimination rounds. That's something we have added to the bylaws of the San Diego County Democratic Party. So it means that, you know, the lowest vote getter is eliminated, just like ranked choice, but slower in elimination rounds. So you know, if you have 3 friends that want to run, well, yes, eventually there will just be 2. But if you're worried about, you know, someone else splitting the vote between you, your friend, and them, you and your friend that are allies will not be splitting allied votes against someone else because it's elimination round. So I very much encourage anyone who's a member of the old 80th Assembly District to run for the Central Committee seat. Central Committee is a commitment. It means you have to attend both the regional caucus and the main Central Committee meeting. But the benefit is that you will get an alternate and your vote will not be bound. As a club, your vote is bound to the vote of the club, which is great. It gives representation to our clubs. But if you'd like your individual representation as an individual representative on Central Committee, this is a great way to get it. Michelle, your hand is raised.
Yeah, just FYI, it's actually the opposite of what you just said.
Oh.
In terms of boundaries, the 80th, the old 80th ended more or less at the 8:05 in Chula Vista. The old 80th was the 79th that was in the southeast area.
You're right. You're right.
And so it's the old 80th ended roughly around the 8:05. It is Bonita, you know, so you'll have to look at it. But
yes,
I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, well, I'm going to put this in an email and I will include in the email the map, a link to a map, everything, so we have the accurate information. I only learned about this yesterday, so I'm telling you as I get it. I didn't even know it was the old 80th until about an hour ago when Vice Chair Ochoa texted me. So you're getting information hot off the press here, but this is only 10 days away this election. So if you know of someone that's interested in running or you are interested in running and you think you may live in the old 80th Assembly District, which is in the South Bay, as Michelle said, west of the 805, you know, please consider it. Okay, next thing coming up is the All Club Summit on Saturday, August 26th. I have not yet got the place reserved, but the goal is to do it at Mira Mesa College. So save the date. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're going to be networking with other club officers and members from around the county. So the idea is we're inviting all members of all clubs to come together. So you'll be there, invite your treasurer, all the treasurers will be there so all the treasurers can talk about the challenges facing treasurer. Have a lot of secretaries there so they can talk about the challenges they face as secretaries, right? So you get a chance to network with people in similar roles to yours in other clubs, meet other clubs, and we're going to have breakout sessions to learn skills hosted by fellow club members. So one thing that Cody Vieira did an incredible job of last year were all of these wonderful skills sessions that happened by a club person who had a great knowledge of this skill. So, you know, someone we often had was Doug Case, who's a member of many, many clubs, who knows parliamentary procedure far better than I. So I would love for us to have wonderful breakout sessions hosted by clubs and hosted by club presidents. So with that in mind, does anyone have any, before I get to suggestions for breakout sessions, does anyone have any suggestions or thoughts about our All Club Summit that we should be considering now as we're going into this? The venue that I am working on reserving at this moment is Mira Mesa College, if not Mira Mesa College, City College. So we're going to have a big room where people can eat lunch and network, and then we'll have breakout sessions in 2 smaller classrooms. That is the current plan. So any thoughts or suggestions on our All Club Summit other than breakout session suggestions, which will be the next topic? Okay, Danny.
What is going to be the format? Are you guys going to have like a social beginning to part to it? Then you're going to go into breakouts.
Yep.
Maybe a reception.
That is the idea. We're going to have a slight social in the beginning from 10 to 10:30. Then we're going to go into breakout sessions, having lunch at around 12:30. And during the lunch hour, have 1 hour for lunch. And I assume also not everyone will be attending breakouts all the time. The idea is to keep 2 breakouts running throughout the day. And while you're not at a breakout session, you know, you can be in the main room networking with other clubs and hopefully strategizing for the 2024 elections about how you're going to get your candidates elected and how you're going to get your members elected to Central Committee. So, Anna, what?
I'm sure we'll be discussing this further, of course, as we go along. But I just wanted to ask with the breakout sessions, will there be a person in each room to facilitate the breakout session? Or will the people in the breakout session just collectively have kind of a little outline and then they just have a discussion? So
That's a good point. I mean, my plan was to have a speaker who kind of led it, who led the workshop or the training. Not all of them are going to be, some are going to be, you know, someone talking on a topic, others may be an interactive discussion, but to designate somebody, ideally members of our clubs, this is clubs supporting clubs, in these breakout sessions. So, you know, one thing I was hoping was Club Dev. Club Dev, I asked so much of you, and I appreciate you so much that you will be helping me facilitate these breakout sessions as well as the summit. So that's, you know, and we've talked about this a number of times before, and hope you all have it on your calendar already. I'm going to go ahead and send a calendar invite to Club Dev now to make sure that it's already on there, because we have talked about this a few times. But yeah, that's the idea. Some things will be round robin and some things will be teaching a skill, and the teaching a skill will be more someone talking. So for example, Doug Case doing parliamentary procedure is less of a discussion and more of a how to. So any other thoughts or questions? Okay, well, with that in mind, Rob has already put some ideas in the chat of possible breakout sessions. So that's what we're going to be talking about next. What are some possible breakout sessions that you would like to see? And I have here from Rob, highlight club collaboration efforts, how clubs can succeed at fundraising. Oh yes, that is a very important one. So how clubs can succeed at fundraising, that is something we want to highlight. Anna has put in, bring in experts from SDCDP regarding rules and regulations for club treasurers. Absolutely, we got to have a financial one. Would anyone else like to orally say a breakout session that they'd like to see? Feel free to put your suggestions out there. I want to hear what clubs would like, what skills you'd like to learn, what topics you'd like to discuss with your fellow club members at this summit. Because that's 3, and we're going to have sessions running, 30 minutes to an hour sessions for 6 hours. So we need some more topics. Please speak up. Come on, club presidents, please unmute yourself and tell me what you'd like to, what skill you'd like to learn. Okay, how to market your club. Yes, organizing for actions. Yes. So yeah, these are some things I've thought about as well. So Danny put in the chat how to market your club. How to grow your club's membership and market your club. You know, we all struggle with membership in the off years. That's super important of how to do that. Organizing for actions, how to get your club to actually show up for things. I know, not to name names, but in clubs that I might be the president of, I've often said, hey, we're all going to go to this walk. And I show up at the walk. And that's the beginning and end of our club development. So how do I get the members there as well? So yeah, so those are some things I've been thinking about as well. So we have club treasury, rules and regulations, super important. I think we need to have a separate one just for club pacts, because again, I want to encourage clubs to form pacts to support your central committee slates going into this upcoming election. But it is work and we do need to know how to do that. How to market your club and gain membership, how to fundraise for your club, how to organize your club for actions, anything else? How to keep your members involved. Yes, yes. We all have some members that just show up, but how do we keep them showing up? Anna?
I'm running an experiment this afternoon.
Okay.
I'm bribing them with ice cream. We're having an ice cream social from 2:30 to 4.
Yes.
And if that doesn't bring our members out, then I probably wouldn't be one to address that at the summit.
Okay, well, I'm in Chico, California right now, coming to you live from Chico, so I won't be there. My apologies. I hope the ice cream social goes excellent. Okay, Phil, how to recruit younger members? Our club demographics are mostly retirees. Yes, yes, yes. How do we recruit younger members? Super important. So I know, you know, Cody's on the line here. She's the past president of the San Diego Young Dems. I would love it if the San Diego Young Dems would be able to talk about that how to get more youth involvement in clubs. And, you know, I always tell people, you know, it's important to recruit young members to clubs, but it's also important just to have youth clubs. And we need to have more youth clubs in more places. So I would love it if the San Diego County Young Dems or the College Dems of UCSD can be hosting something on that. Cody?
First, I'm actually still president of the Young Dems.
Okay, great.
Yep. I will be on vacation, but I will talk to our board and see if anyone would be able to do that. We have done something like that before, but yeah.
That's great. My apologies. There was some other young man who was listed somewhere, and I think I got confused. But since you're still president, I will happily have our counterpoint for that, because that's, you know, that's super, super important. And Cody, we talked earlier about in our how to get elected to Central Committee discussion about the importance of electing young people to Central Committee. And I had highlighted, you know, that San Diego Young Dems had done an incredible fundraising job this last election cycle. And I hope that you will also be doing that incredible fundraising job this next election cycle to get more youth representation on Central. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, any other ideas, anything else that we want to talk about as clubs that maybe we haven't? Oh, you know, one thing that's come up from a number of people, well, there's a few people have driven this, but I think it's important, harassment, sexual harassment training for clubs, because sometimes, you know, sometimes we say things that are inappropriate without realizing they're inappropriate. So we can either be the harasser without meaning to be the harasser, or we can feel harassed, and how do we address it? So how do we stop sexual harassment at the clubs, both harassment that comes into our clubs and harassment, maybe even unintentionally, that is that happens at clubs? And the best way to do that is be educated. So the idea had been to have a sexual harassment training. I think this summit would be a great time to do it. Danny?
Yeah, in addition to that, I would also say something that has been done in the past for clubs is a implicit bias workshop.
Oh yeah, that's
so
a great
that
one.
would be great to bring back up again.
Yes, wonderful. Diane, I know you couldn't be on the phone that long. Are you still taking notes on these things, or should I be writing them down? I'm kind of hard because I'm also
semi taking notes. I can't copy and paste, but I'll go back and capture.
No, the chat I can get. The chat I'm going to be able to get, but I just want to make sure we're hearing the great suggestions that aren't in the chat. So yeah, implicit bias, that's wonderful. Elise? Elise, you're on mute. I see your hand raised, Elise, but you are still on mute. Hey, she's on.
There's been a lot of information lately about the mental health of young students, and a lot of them are committing suicide, and we need to know why.
Yeah.
Well, that's not enthusiastic.
Well, no, I mean, it's serious. I mean, and just mental
It's
health
very
of
serious.
organizers in general. I mean, it can be very hard being out there, especially when you're interacting with, you know, the opposition that's really spreading a lot of hate and having to deal with that hate speech and hate crime as DeSantis and, you know, Trump. I mean, and it's affecting here locally too. So,
yeah,
you know, organizing while keeping your mental health, both youth and just in general. You know, I have an ally in East County who was really trying to infiltrate all these hate organizations and hate speech online. And I wished her well, but my God, that just the toll on your mental health, trying to track that, you know, is profound. So
yeah, and there are some students who have experienced gunshots in elementary school, and now they're in college and they're still experiencing it over again.
yeah.
So it's really bad for young people.
Yes, it is. So, yeah. So there's a topic is mental health for our youth and mental health, I would say, for organizers in general, because you know, dealing with, oh my goodness, I was at the I was at the school board meeting with Nadia, and I just had some really horrible people saying really horrible things sitting right behind me all the time. It was not easy. Okay, so Anna?
That's the worst. This is totally different subject, but for club presidents, I was wondering if we could, it's just a thought. I know that secretary and membership are the two hardest positions on my board for whatever reason, to keep. I have always have a turnover of membership and secretary. So it maybe the subject matter would be just a, training session for club presidents of how to pick your board or choose your board, how to
Yes, fill your board.
motivate,
Mhm.
motivate.
Yeah. Motivate and just find board members, recruiting board members that are actually going to do things. Yeah.
Right.
William Seeger. Well, you're off mute, Will, but I still don't hear you. You're not muted, but I don't hear you. Maybe it's your headset. Maybe you want to put it in the chat because you're not muted, but I don't hear you. If you're on your phone, maybe you've pressed the mute button on your phone. Okay. Well, Will, as soon as you can be heard, you will be heard. So do you want to try again? Just try unmuting once. Are you speaking, Will? Okay. Well, we don't hear you. So if you don't mind either putting it in the chat or again, if you have a headset or something, disconnecting the headset, that sometimes happens to me. Kate?
I saw that Miss Elise's hand has been raised. Has she been called on?
Yeah, I think that was from last time. Elise, do you have another suggestion? Okay, you're on mute, Elise.
No, I don't have another suggestion. I guess I'll take my hand down.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Okay, Kate, do you have a suggestion?
I just want to make sure I wasn't jumping the line.
No.
One of the things that I feel like I benefited well when I was in the PTA from was we did a workshop on kind of leadership skills without managing people without being domineering or passive aggressive or all these kind of leadership skills that are soft skills that a lot of people struggle with. And I know I have over time. So maybe that would be great for club leadership in general as well.
That would be. Okay. I like it. Okay. So Will, your hand is still raised. You're welcome at any point to unmute yourself if you can speak. Okay, I see his hand is down. Okay, I want to throw another one, just technology, doing hybrid meetings. We've had someone who's volunteered to give this to the Council of Clubs, and we haven't had a chance yet. And I know that's a skill that, I still struggle with. I host lots of hybrid meetings, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. So I know I don't have the formula right yet, but hybrid meetings are great because it gives people a chance that want to network in person and network. And if you're feeling sick or just out of town or for some other reason can't be there, I think that's a great skill to have. So I'd like to see a breakout on hybrid meetings for myself and others. I wanted to ask Cody, because you hosted so many of these wonderful knowledge sessions last year via Zoom. Is there anyone in particular that you thought was a particular hit that you'd like to recommend for our All Club Summit?
I think definitely something on communications and maybe, I did one fairly recently on social media, but websites, emails, like that sort of thing. People seem to be really interested in. Off the top of my head, that's what I'm thinking of, but there's obviously, info on all the past ones in the drive and YouTube. So.
Okay. Yeah. Communications are definitely important, how we get the word out. I still, with the clubs that I help with that on, I mean, we're on Facebook and that's it, because just doing Instagram or getting to Twitter is just like too much for my little bandwidth. But then that also comes back to having active board members, right? I probably take on too much in the clubs that I'm on the board of because I'm willing to do it. So getting that dedicated communications person that does that besides just me is very helpful. So I will say Luis Vega on La Voz Democrata, he's our president. He's been on real communications go right now on Facebook and TikTok. So I appreciate that. Will Seeger, I apologize, Will, that we haven't been able to hear you, but his suggestion is diversity, equity, and inclusion. He wrote, we took a training on this as global ushers, and though we thought we were informed, we learned a lot. Okay, and Chi Wu has suggested this local group, Students for Diversion, Equity, and Inclusion. So perhaps, you know, someone from that group might be able or willing to, you know, lead a training for us. So, yeah. Okay, any other suggestions? And just so everyone knows what I'm going to do with these suggestions, I'm going to make a ranked choice voting form. And we're going to put them in order of what people think is most important and least important to them about what they want to learn. So if we have more topics, and I'm going to include, as Cody stated, you know, most things that she's done trainings on in the past in that ranked choice voting thing. And I'd like you all to say, hey, this is what I want to see at the All Club Summit. This is what I want to learn. And then hopefully if we get the topics that most people care about, that you care about, you'll attend. That's the goal. So we're going to do a little training on ranked choice, and we're going to be talking about these breakout sessions. Okay, and before we move on to the next topic, does anyone else have any second suggestions for breakout sessions that they'd like to share? You know, I'm going to put one out there that I think is important before we move on to the next topic. Cultivating clubs in diverse communities, in communities of color specifically. So, you know, Tamika Cook, who's president of MLK Democratic Club, asked once, she said, what will you do to create more clubs in communities of color? And it is an issue. When you look at who has time, who's retired and has time for club activities, you know, that demographic tends to skew older and whiter because they're people with time. There are less people in communities of color that have the economic ability to engage in purely social activities like this. So, you know, how do we build up more of these clubs? How do we get more Latino clubs, more African-American clubs, and not just affinity clubs for Latinos and African-Americans, but in those communities, in those lower income communities, because we overrepresent affluent communities in our clubs. And again, it comes to who has the ability to retire and has time to pursue social causes. But we don't have democratic clubs in Barrio Logan or Sherman Heights or Oak Park. And I would love to see those geographic clubs exist. So I want to put that myself as a club topic of how do we cultivate those clubs. And Amira from the Iranian Democratic Club put in the chat, tools available to clubs. So yeah, what tools are available for meetings, from the county party and otherwise, for membership recruitment, for voting, for ranked choice voting? What tools are at our disposal as clubs? So, okay, moving on to other announcements. Oop, we're not going to adjourn yet, and I'm not going to do other announcements yet because we now have both of our KDEM representatives here. They weren't here early in the meeting, and that may be because of our technical difficulties with that whole password thing. Don't know how that happened. But Deborah Skurnick and Michelle Krug, if you'd like to give some updates from an ADEM perspective, from a California Democratic Party perspective about what's happening. I know that we're closer to endorsements than we are before, at least knowing how they're going to work and when it's going to be in October. So Deborah's raised her hand, so I'm going to give you the floor first.
Hello again, San Diego. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the convention, which for me was so much fun. It was good to get to know a lot of the new delegates in Region 21, as well as a lot of you out there. I want to congratulate first to anyone new who is on one of the caucuses. I was elected to be the new treasurer of the Women's Caucus, and I'm very proud of that. I attended standing committee meetings, credentialing. That one got a little rowdy. That kind of surprised me. And I went to rules and resolutions. That one's always very lively as well. Standing committee applications were due on the 12th. And I'm guessing sometime in July, people will be assigned to, if they're so lucky to get assigned to a standing committee, because they'll have to be ready for the August e-board meeting. The August e-board meeting will be in Visalia. As you know, that's Central California. A lot of logistics problems with that. I think some of us here in Orange County maybe will rent a bus or something so we can go together and be more efficient that way. Regional and other information coming up with endorsements. I sent out to all my clubs the information regarding the pre-endorsement conference and what comes up next. And this was from CADEM. September 1st at 5, all club rosters will be due with the list of their potential club reps. And I will be holding my pre-endorsement conference in San Marcos, date and place to be determined, which is Saturday, October 21st. And that's basically it. I'm excited about all the new possibilities in this new region, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Great. Deborah, now I don't think I got your email about the endorsement conferences and how clubs can participate. So
thank you. I'll make sure I'll double check that you are on my email list.
Yes, I have been in the past, so maybe I just missed it or, went to spam. Or,
okay,
but, I will send it.
I'll resend it to you.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Michelle Krug, are you still present? Would you like to speak? Okay, I know Michelle is at an event, so Michelle, feel free to.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. I'm actually speaking to Michelle of Demco right now.
Wonderful.
She's at the event. So just in terms of the regional director report, basically those of you, because I'm also with Eric Joyce, the people, the executive board will be meeting in Visalia on August 17th through the 19th, 20th. And then the convention, the next convention is going to be held in November of this year. There will be no conventions in 2024 because we'll have 2 of them here. And that'll be in Sacramento, November 16th through the 19th. I also want to say for those people that are running as delegates that are part of the San Diego County Democratic Party as an associate or as an alternate, but we're not chosen as delegates, there's some openings, and that's going to be voted on this Tuesday. And if you win one of those delegate positions, you can then run for executive board. So, because there's some executive board positions as well. There's 3 female identified and 4 other than female identified. And I think for the delegate positions, it was like 7 or 9 other than female identified and 4 female identified. So just be aware of that as members in your clubs may fit those categories. Yeah, and I think as always, call me with any questions. I do think another topic might be clarifying what the club votes mean when we're talking about no endorsements or clubs that didn't vote per se for no endorsement. I know that I got a lot of questions and questions about that. So that might be something to actually clarify what that actually looks like when people are voting, particularly in the second and third round on endorsements. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Michelle. Is that the end of your report?
Yeah, that's the end of my report.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for joining. Okay, with that in mind, going back to our agenda, other announcements. So I know Danny had an announcement, if you'd like to give that now. And if anyone else has an announcement, please raise your hand. So Danny, are you still on? Oh yeah, you
Yes,
are.
sorry, I was having some
Great.
glitch difficulties. All right, so as most of you guys, some of you guys already know, the Downtown Democratic Club, in conjunction with the Blue Dream Democrats, the Environmental Democrats, the Dems for Environmental Action, Progressive Democrats, La Jolla Democrats, San Diego Racial Justice Coalition are coming together to partner up and put together a club social for in place of our Downtown Democratic Club. Since we didn't have too much business, we figured why not throw a Pride social? It's Pride season. We get to celebrate 2 months of Pride. So with that said, our Pride social will be on the 25th of this month, just as we start getting into our Pride season for the end of the month. And it'll be from 2 to 4 p.m. There'll be lots of wine, lots of cheese, great conversations, and we'll be probably having some music, and there'll be more things that we'll be working out to add speakers and stuff. So feel free to come. I think the purpose with this was just to build community within our clubs, invite the public to make sure that they are building a working relationship with both the clubs and the party. So please celebrate Pride season with us this next Sunday, the 25th, 2 to 4 p.m. And the flyer and the link is in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, I shared that the link and the information with the club. So Elise, you're up next.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
The Black and African Women Rise Democratic Club and the Democratic Women's Democratic Club will be at the La Mesa Juneteenth event tomorrow. It starts at 12 noon, and we'd like to invite everyone to come. Also, the Cooper's Juneteenth, which has been going on for like 50 years, will be happening on Monday at Memorial Park. And it's always an adventure with lots of vendors, so be sure and consider that as you celebrate Juneteenth.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're
Also,
welcome.
just to follow up on that, Suzanne, I remember in your club's Google group, there was talk of Juneteenth too. Are you also, is the East County Democratic Club also planning on being there?
I am not sure.
Oh. Okay,
Sorry.
I wanted to make that connection if you were, but if you're not, I know that it's
Thank
something
you.
that your club has been discussing as well. So, John, please make your announcement.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, so just to say, we're having a fundraiser for Monica. Montgomery Step is running, as everybody's aware, I hope, for County Board of Supervisors District 4. And that, unfortunately, collides with Danny's event, but it's on Sunday, June the 25th, from 3 to 5 p.m. And we have a lot of great people on the host committee. The Honorable Leon Williams, hopefully, will be there, as will Secretary of State, Dr. Shirley Weber, and several club members, Elise, who's on the call, Angela Hawkins, John Conway, Beatrice Cubbett, and a whole bunch of other people. So I sent you the link, Cynara, if you're able to share that, or just reach out to me if you'd like more details about the event.
No, I'm more than happy to share that. And, I'm going to recognize that a lot of clubs that are present here today and in general, we're very enthusiastic about Council Pro Tem Montgomery Stepp's candidacy for Board of Supervisors. There was some real enthusiasm I saw in those rooms and some overwhelming votes. So as the Democratic Party plans events for the endorsed candidates, I'll make sure to let the clubs know, because you're where they're going to find those volunteers. You're where they're going to find those boots on the ground for the candidate. So you've you've successfully, congratulations to those of you supported. You've successfully made her our endorsed candidate. Now it's back to you clubs, La Jolla, Point Loma, Blue Dream, all these clubs that voted really overwhelmingly for Monica, yes. Sorry, I'm tired. It's a 2-hour meeting. Bar, of course, has been very supportive. So again, we're going to be looking to you clubs to help provide that that grassroots push. So I'll be sharing with you when grassroots events for her campaign are coming up. I've put John's event in the chat as well. I've also put Danny's to everyone. I would happily let everyone just be in the chat. I'm not the one who set up the chat for the San Diego County Democratic Party. So that's why you can't immediately put things in the chat. So my apologies. Is there anyone else who has any announcement? Okay. Seeing no other announcements, does anyone have any other business that you'd like us to address? Anything else before our club is adjourned, or our council of clubs is adjourned? Okay, Danny.
I just had one more piece of information for everyone. As we talked about the ADEM elections, the Central Committee elections, I will be announcing that I am going to be running for the Central Committee seat for the 77th Assembly District, and I would hope to have everyone's support. In addition, at the next Central Committee meeting, I will be adding my name to the list to be a delegate to the state party. So I would hope to have your support in that as well. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Okay, Elise. You're on mute, Elise. I see your hand is up, Elise, but you are on mute.
Am I off now?
You are. Yeah.
I'm just going to leave it off.
Okay. We're about to adjourn.
The Black and African Women's Rise Democratic Club, we are going to be recruiting for members who are not already connected with another club.
Wonderful.
So I want to know if that's legal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. How could it not be? We want you to have all the membership you can have.
Yeah, well, we need, you know, we need people that are not home, that other clubs are not their home club.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Didn't want to do anything crazy. Okay.
No, not at all. Blue Dream Dems often has the same issue as an affinity club. People often have their geographic club as their home club. So yeah, I understand the challenge, and please, I'm happy to help with that recruitment. Okay, Anna Webb.
Since Danny opened the door, I'll also let everyone know that I will also be on the ballot with the Central Committee for the CDP position on Tuesday. So I would hope to have everyone's support as well.
Wonderful. Okay. Anything else before we adjourn? Feel free to just take yourself off mute. Okay, well, hearing none, that is it for our meeting. Thank you, everyone, for spending 2 hours on a Saturday.
That's a great meeting, Cynara.
Thank you, Cynara.
No caller.